Hello everybody, this is Big Bear, Tony Sandoval. Had a question come up in email today that I thought would be a good one to talk about a little bit. Has to do with horizontal top bar hives, and the question he asked me was, is it better or does somebody need to use a follower board or no follower board when you're installing bees into a horizontal top bar hive? The answer to that is simple, and not exactly simple, but the simple answer is yes to both. You can use a follower board and you cannot use a follower board. The bees don't care. Simplicity's sake, follow the bees. Bees don't care. Why is a follower board there? It's for us. It's for a beekeeper management tool. It helps us to restrict their movement. I have run, I don't know how many top bar hives, and I can tell you that the ones without a follower board work just as well as the ones with a follower board. And because of that, I quit using follower boards in my own. The bees tend to start the brood and the comb drawing by the main entrance, or where that they start. So by the end here, like in this one, this doesn't have a follower board. This entrance here is where I deposited them. When I poured them in at this end by this front hole here, and that's where I put the queen at, was at that front. They started drawing combs on the first 4 bars. There's no back. They haven't gone crazy and put some here and some in the middle and some in the back or anywhere. They started here and went 1, 2, 3, 4 down the line with no follower board. So they'll manage their own process. It's getting them started correctly. A follower board in a top bar hive like this, a horizontal top bar hive, really comes into play when you have you're trying to use it for like dividing it. You need to separate it into 2 hives, for example. So you got a colony over here, you got a colony over there. You say you're raising queens, or you're using it to make nukes or splits or whatever. You put that follower board in the middle, and that will serve a more specific purpose. You put a follower board in there if you attach some kind of a feeder, if you're the type of person that will feed inside the hive. Attaching a feeder, a jar feeder or something like that, to a follower board allows you to put food inside a hive for them. So there's another use for a follower board, but it's not an absolute necessity. They're more for convenience of the beekeeper, the management that you're doing. Like I said, if you're doing splits, if you're raising them for making nukes or something like that, they really come in handy. But here's bees, I'm putting them in this hive. Do I need a follower board? No, you don't. You do not need a follower board. It's where you place the bees. For example, if you look, I make my top bar hives now with 3 holes, okay? 1 at this end, 1 in the middle, and 1 at that end. You see that? And they're kind of lower. I do that because of ventilation. I allow the air to come in one side, come through. I'll cork them up actually too, depending on the time of year, the weather and all that. I'll cork 1 or 2 up. And the bees will actually, if they decide they don't like the air moving through one, they'll propolize it shut. So bees will control their own airflow to a certain extent. But even having these 3 entrance holes, they come and go through all 3. Mostly they come in through this front one, but they'll go through all 3 holes, in and out, in and out. But when I open that up, just like I did yesterday, all the comb is right here. There's no extra comb down here or anywhere else. Okay. It's just not a necessity. The bees figure it out on their own. This is no different than when bees move, say, into the soffit of a house, or in a extended branch from a tree, or in a fallen log, any other kind of horizontal hive that they might naturally choose. They're going to start where they collected at, and they're going to build from there and move backwards. Okay, that's just the nature of the bees. That's how they do what they do. So the answer, like I said, simply put, is you can use any way you want to. You could put a follower board in there, but to me that's more work in the long run, because they don't care, because they don't need it. It's really just you starting that board there, and then you're coming in, micromanaging the hive. You giving yourself more work by moving the follower board back and adding new top bars in. It's just one more thing you have to do that to me really is unnecessary. I mean, I'll go in here and I'll see, okay, they got 5-6 bars built, and I'll take a couple of them that don't have a bottom a guide bar on the bottom. They're just blank, straight across, smooth, and then I'll slip them in behind. So like, say bars 5 and 6 are mostly honey and pollen or something, very little if any brood, but they're drawn out. I want to get good straight combs started on the bars that have no guide on them. I'll stick a couple of them flat no guide bars in between. I think I've said it on a couple other videos, stick them in between a couple of bars that are already drawn out, and they'll draw those straight because they're using the combs on either side as a guide. Okay, didn't need a follower board for that. Now you can use a follower board, say like if you want to create like a baby nuke experience and you want to use that follower board. I've done this where I've taken and I've given 2 bars or even 1 bar. You just have like you borrowed shook a bunch of bees from a couple of frames from one of the other hives. I've done this. I've taken a couple of frames of bees, shook them down in there because I had a queen in here that I wanted them to tend to. Took 1 bar in there, got the natural end here of the hive. Then I put a back, the follower board out, so the end, 1 bar, follower board. Now they have the end of the hive and the follower board as guides for that 1 single bar. And then I move the back or get rid of it, because then now they've got that. Then I can keep adding comb bars with guides, or just keep adding bars with no guides in between 2 of them that are drawn, and it works the same way. So I mean, to me, there should be a purpose for me to use it, a follower board. There's got to be something besides just putting it in there to say I've got one. I've got enough to do. I don't need to do that much extra work. So that's my outlook on using a follower board in a horizontal top bar hive. It's not a bad thing, but it's not necessary either. Why make yourself work even just that little bit harder if you don't have to? The bees, they don't care. They couldn't care less about that. We're the ones that want it. So there's that. I appreciate the question. It was a good question. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to send them to me. Shoot me an email or grab me on Facebook or on Google+. And I'll be more than glad to give you my 2 cents. That's all I ever do, is just give you my 2 cents. And we'll just keep enjoying our bees together. Have a good one.